Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the real cost of buying a property here in the UK. Now, since I shared my video regarding my second property here in the UK, a lot of you guys have been asking me questions around, doing more videos on the property purchase process here in the UK, and just to make more videos surrounding, property strategy and tips for those who are looking to get on the property ladder. So today we will be talking about the costs involved in actually buying a property. It's important for you to be aware about what the possible costs are when you're buying a property. This is so that you can really assess whether or not buying that property is affordable or not. So the first cost you definitely want to consider when you're buying a property is obviously the purchase price. Now, the purchase price of the property will heavily depend on how big that property is that you're buying. Are you buying a flat, for instance? If you're buying a flat, how many bedrooms does that flat have? Or are you going for an actual, terrace, semi-detached, or a detached property? Another factor that will affect the purchase price of the property you're buying is indeed the location that you're buying in. Now, typically when you're buying a property in London, this will definitely be far more expensive than if, for instance, you are buying a property in one of the outer London cities like Leeds, Manchester, Birmingham, and so on and so forth. So this is definitely something you want to consider when you are looking to set a budget for the price of property you want to buy and how much finances you have to actually put towards the cost of buying your property. So the next cost you want to consider is your solicitor fees. So you do want to make sure that you budget that into the cost of buying your property. Your solicitors will be responsible for doing any due diligence checks on the property you're buying, ensuring that the person who is selling that property to you are actually the rightful owner of that property, okay, and that to basically make sure that there are no money laundering and other kind of fraudulent activities going on as part of the property purchase. Now, generally speaking, solicitor fees will generally fluctuate depending on the size of the property you're buying and also the complexity of the case itself. Next cost you definitely want to budget for are your surveyor fees. Now, when you've actually seen the house you want to buy and you've made the offer and the offer has been accepted by the seller, one of the steps you definitely want to do is to have a surveyor actually go around to inspect the house. Okay, so a surveyor would be able to look at the house in a lot more detail than you would be able to look at the house. Okay, so they will check for any kind of structural damages to the house, they will check for maybe any drainage issues, they will check a lot of things depending on what survey it is that you've budgeted for. Okay, so if you've paid for a level 1 survey, that's not quite as in-depth as maybe paying for a level 2 survey, for instance. Okay, so it's very important that you do budget to have some kind of survey carried out on your property before you actually buy it. It's also important for you to have a surveyor actually go around to check that property, because if there are any issues that come out of the survey reports, then in most cases you're actually able to use that as a point of negotiation with the seller to bring down the asking price for the property that you're buying. Now, the next cost you definitely want to budget is the cost for making your interest payments on a month-on-month basis. Now, unless you're actually buying your property with cash all out, in which case great for you, you will definitely have to budget for your interest payments on a monthly basis. Okay, how is this going to affect how much you're paying on that property on a month-on-month basis? Now, I'm sure a lot of you are aware that interest rates have risen significantly in the last year or so. So it's important for you to use a lot of comparison sites to see what rates are out there and see which one is actually best for you. It's also important to note that the amount of deposits you put down will greatly affect how much interest you pay, as well as the mortgage duration that you choose to actually take that mortgage out for. Typically, if you actually take out your mortgage for a much longer term, you will expect to pay more interest payments because you are carrying out that mortgage over a much longer term, unless of course you're making overpayments during that mortgage term. Next cost you definitely want to be budgeting for is your stamp duty. Now, currently, if you're going to be buying a house in the UK, whether that's a flat or you know it's a 2-bed or a 3-bed house, whichever type of residential property you're going to be buying, you will definitely have to pay stamp duty tax. Okay, as long as that property costs over £250,000, you will definitely have to pay stamp duty tax. There are also other things to consider here when you're looking at how much stamp duty you will have to pay, and that includes whether or not it's your first property, or indeed you already have several properties in your portfolio that you are not selling on. So if, for instance, you already have a first-time property that you've bought but you're not selling that and you're buying another property, you will typically have to pay a higher stamp duty tax when you're buying that second property, because you are not selling the first property. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're looking at how much stamp duty tax you're going to have to pay when you're buying a property here in the UK. It's also important that you factor in any ongoing costs when you're actually looking to buy a property. Okay, so for instance, have you factored in your utilities cost? Have you factored in how much your home insurance is going to cost? Have you factored in how much your bills are going to be on a month-on-month basis as part of assessing your affordability to actually buying that property? You know, does it look affordable? Does it make sense? Is it realistic going forward in the future? So these are all some things you definitely should be considering when you're looking at assessing the overall cost of actually buying a property here in the UK. I hope today's video has been useful. If you have any questions at all regarding today's video, please do make sure you drop them down for me in the comment section below. If you'd like to see more videos like this, then do make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notification bell. I will see you in my next video.